Welcome to our journey into the world of matter. Everything around us, from the air we breathe to the water we drink, is made up of matter. But did you know that matter can be classified into elements, compounds, and mixtures? In this video, we'll explore what these terms mean, how they differ, and why understanding them is important in science. By the end, you'll be able to identify elements, compounds, and mixtures in your daily life. Let's start by understanding what matter is and how scientists classify it into different categories. Element is a pure substance that cannot be broken down into simpler substances by any chemical means. Elements are the building blocks of all matter. Each element is made up of only one kind of atom. For example, gold, silver, and oxygen are all elements. There are over 100 known elements, and each has its own unique properties. Elements are represented by symbols like H for hydrogen or O for oxygen. Understanding elements is the first step in learning about the materials that make up our world. Let's look at some common examples of elements you might know. Oxygen is the element we breathe in to survive. Gold is a shiny, valuable metal used in jewelry. Iron is strong and used to make buildings and bridges. Each of these is made up of only one type of atom. Elements can be metals, nonmetals, or metalloids, and each has its own special uses and characteristics. Recognizing elements around you helps you understand the basics of chemistry. Compound is a substance formed when two or more elements combine chemically in a fixed ratio. Compounds have properties that are different from the elements that make them. For example, water is a compound made from hydrogen and oxygen. When these elements combine, they form a new substance with its own unique properties. Compounds can only be separated into their elements by chemical methods, not by physical means. Some everyday examples of compounds include water, salt, and carbon dioxide. Water, as we mentioned, is made from hydrogen and oxygen. Table salt is a compound of sodium and chlorine. Carbon dioxide, which we breathe out, is made from carbon and oxygen. Each of these compounds has properties very different from the elements that form them, showing how chemical combinations can create entirely new substances. Mixture is made when two or more substances are combined physically, not chemically. In a mixture, each substance keeps its own properties, and they can usually be separated by physical methods. Mixtures can be made of elements, compounds, or both. For example, a salad is a mixture of vegetables and air is a mixture of gases. Mixtures are all around us and are an important part of our daily lives. Mixtures can be classified into two main types, homogeneous and heterogeneous. In a homogeneous mixture, the substances are evenly mixed and you can't see the different parts, like salt dissolved in water. In a heterogeneous mixture, you can see the different substances, like a fruit salad. Understanding these types helps us identify mixtures in our surroundings. Homogeneous mixture looks the same throughout. The substances are so well mixed that you can't tell them apart. For example, when you dissolve sugar in water, it forms a homogeneous mixture because the sugar spreads out evenly. Other examples include air and vinegar. These mixtures are also called solutions. Homogeneous mixtures are common in both nature and our daily lives. Heterogeneous mixture has parts that are not evenly mixed. You can see the different substances with your eyes. For example, a bowl of cereal with milk or a mixture of sand and iron filings. In these mixtures, the components remain separate and can often be picked out easily. Heterogeneous mixtures are everywhere, from the food we eat to the things we use every day. Let's compare elements and compounds. Elements are pure substances made of only one kind of atom, while compounds are made of two or more elements combined chemically. For example, oxygen is an element, but water is a compound of hydrogen and oxygen. Compounds have properties different from the elements that form them. This distinction is key to understanding how matter is organized. Compounds and mixtures are both made of more than one substance, but they are very different. In compounds, elements are joined by chemical bonds and can only be separated by chemical means. In mixtures, substances are just physically combined and can be separated by physical methods. For example, salt water is a mixture, but table salt is a compound. Understanding this helps us know how to separate substances in science. We mix substances, sometimes they just blend together and sometimes they form something new. Physical changes like mixing sand and salt don't create new substances. Chemical changes like burning wood or rusting iron create new substances with different properties. Compounds are formed by chemical changes, while mixtures are made by physical changes. This difference is important in understanding how matter changes. Mixtures can be separated by physical methods because their components are not chemically combined. Common methods include filtration, evaporation, and using a magnet. For example, you can separate sand from water by filtration or iron filings from sand with a magnet. These methods are useful in everyday life and in science labs. Unlike mixtures, compounds cannot be separated by physical methods. They require chemical reactions to break them down into their elements. For example, water can be split into hydrogen and oxygen by a process called electrolysis. This shows that compounds are more tightly bonded than mixtures, making them harder to separate. Elements are essential for life and technology. The oxygen we breathe, the iron in our blood, and the silicon in computers are all elements. Each element has unique properties that make it useful for different purposes. Learning about elements helps us understand the materials that make up everything around us. Compounds are everywhere in our lives. Water is vital for life, salt is used in food, and medicines are made from different compounds. The properties of compounds are different from the elements that form them, which allows us to create new materials for different uses. Understanding compounds helps us in science, health, and industry. Mixtures are a part of our daily lives. The air we breathe, the food we eat, and even the soil are mixtures. Mixtures allow us to combine different substances for specific purposes, like making alloys for stronger metals or mixing ingredients for tasty recipes. Recognizing mixtures helps us understand how substances interact in the world. The periodic table is a chart that organizes all known elements. Each element has its own place based on its properties. The periodic table helps scientists understand how elements relate to each other and predict how they will react. Learning to read the periodic table is an important skill in science. Each element is represented by a symbol, usually one or two letters. For example, H stands for hydrogen, O for oxygen, and Na for sodium. These symbols are used worldwide, making it easy for scientists to communicate. Learning these symbols helps you identify elements quickly. Compounds are made up of molecules, which are groups of atoms bonded together. For example, a water molecule has two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom. Molecules give compounds their unique properties. Understanding molecules helps us see how atoms combine to form new substances. Atoms are the smallest units of matter that retain the properties of an element. Everything is made of atoms, from the air to the food we eat. Atoms combine in different ways to form elements, compounds, and mixtures. Understanding atoms is the foundation of chemistry. Mixtures retain the physical properties of their components. For example, in a mixture of sand and salt, you can still see and feel both substances. This is different from compounds, where the properties change. Physical properties help us identify and separate mixtures. Compounds have chemical properties that are different from the elements that form them. For example, sodium is a metal and chlorine is a poisonous gas, but together they form table salt, which is safe to eat. Chemical properties help us understand how substances react and change. A solution is a special type of homogeneous mixture where one substance dissolves in another. For example, when you mix sugar in water, the sugar dissolves and forms a solution. Solutions are important in science and everyday life, from making drinks to medicines. A suspension is a heterogeneous mixture where small particles are spread throughout a liquid but do not dissolve. For example, muddy water is a suspension. The particles can settle over time. Suspensions are different from solutions because the substances do not mix evenly. Colloids are mixtures where small particles are spread throughout another substance, but they do not settle out. Milk is an example of a colloid. Colloids have properties between those of solutions and suspensions. They are important in food, medicine, and industry. An alloy is a mixture of two or more metals or a metal and another element. Alloys are made to improve the properties of metals, like making them stronger or resistant to rust. Steel, for example, is an alloy of iron and carbon. Alloys are used in construction, transportation, and many other fields. The air we breathe is a mixture of different gases, mainly nitrogen, oxygen, and small amounts of other gases like carbon dioxide and argon. Each gas keeps its own properties and they are not chemically combined. This makes air a perfect example of a mixture in our environment. Water is a compound made from two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom. It has properties very different from hydrogen and oxygen alone. Water is essential for life and is found everywhere on Earth. Its unique properties make it one of the most important compounds. Table salt is a compound called sodium chloride. It is made from sodium, a metal, and chlorine, a poisonous gas. When combined, they form a safe and tasty substance we use in food. This shows how compounds can have very different properties from their elements. Many foods are mixtures. For example, a fruit salad contains different fruits and a sandwich has bread, cheese, and vegetables. Each ingredient keeps its own properties and you can separate them easily. Understanding mixtures in food helps us appreciate the variety in our meals. Nature is full of mixtures. Soil is a mixture of minerals, water, air, and organic matter. Rivers carry mixtures of water and sediments. Even the ocean is a mixture of water, salt, and other substances. Recognizing mixtures in nature helps us understand the environment. Elements have many uses in our lives. Copper is used in electrical wires, aluminum in cans and airplanes, and gold in jewelry. Each element's unique properties make it suitable for different tasks. Learning about elements helps us see their value in technology and daily life. Compounds are used in medicine, cleaning, and industry. Medicines are made from chemical compounds that help cure diseases. Cleaning products use compounds to remove dirt and kill germs. Compounds are also used to make plastics, glass, and many other materials. Mixtures are useful in cooking, construction, and industry. Concrete is a mixture of cement, sand, and gravel. Paint is a mixture of pigments and liquids. Mixtures allow us to create materials with specific properties for different uses. Scientists use different tests to identify elements. For example, flame tests can show which metal is present by the color of the flame. These tests help scientists discover new elements and study their properties. Compounds can be tested by chemical reactions. For example, adding silver nitrate to salt water forms a white solid, showing the presence of chloride. These tests help scientists identify compounds and understand their behavior. Mixtures can be tested by separating their components. For example, filtering muddy water separates the soil from the water. These simple tests help us identify mixtures and understand their properties. Let's look at some everyday examples. The water you drink is a compound, the air you breathe is a mixture, and the gold in jewelry is an element. Recognizing these helps you see how science is part of your daily life. Did you know that diamond and graphite are both made of carbon, an element, but have very different properties? Or that salt was once so valuable it was used as money? Science is full of interesting facts about elements, compounds, and mixtures. Let's test your knowledge. Is water an element, compound, or mixture? What about air? These questions help you check your understanding and see how much you've learned about elements, compounds, and mixtures. To sum up, elements are pure substances made of one kind of atom, compounds are made of elements combined chemically, and mixtures are physical combinations of substances. Each has unique properties and uses. Understanding these differences helps us make sense of the world around us. Knowing about elements, compounds, and mixtures helps us in science, technology, and everyday life. It allows us to create new materials, solve problems, and understand the environment. Science is all about exploring and discovering how things work. There's so much more to learn about matter. As you continue your studies, you'll discover new elements, compounds, and mixtures and see how they shape our world. Keep exploring, asking questions, and enjoying the wonders of science. Congratulations, you've learned the basics of elements, compounds, and mixtures. Remember, everything around us is made of matter, and understanding its forms helps us appreciate the world. Keep observing, experimenting, and learning about the amazing science of matter.